All right. Hi, you guys. We are so excited to be talking again today about Clubhouse. Yes, my new favorite. I have my friend Annabelle here with us today, and I asked her to come because of the fact that she has really become the Clubhouse guru when it comes to building your business on Clubhouse. And whereas I totally went MIA and took 3 months off of Clubhouse this summer, you have people like Annabelle who have been consistently on this app, understanding the ins and the outs and the strategies of business and really being faithful to watching this app grow and helping you grow in your business. So I'm so excited to invite Annabelle today to come and talk to us about the realities of how to use Clubhouse as a strategy, but also for people like me and probably most of our listeners, how to actually fit this into your life and your time and your business. So welcome to the Sweet Life Entrepreneur Podcast, Annabelle. We are so glad that you are here.
Thank you for having me.
I love your whole entire kind of transition into being the marketing guru, the business guru of Clubhouse. Can you just briefly tell everybody a little bit about your business and how you help entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I am the founder of Clubhouse for Bosses. It's, to my knowledge, one of the very first business coaching programs using Clubhouse. Before that, I've worked behind the scenes with a lot of small businesses, growing their businesses, many of them being, people who work on Instagram and they teach people how to use Instagram to grow their business. And so I was very familiar with the model and actually very interested in doing it for myself. And so when I noticed that, Clubhouse was something that's up and coming, there was nobody working like this in this space yet, I thought, okay, this is my chance to be a very early adopter of this app and teach people what I know about growing businesses from, Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. It's all a very similar model with a different, basically, funnel head, I guess you could say, or marketing positioning. And so I decided to just dive right in, like right when I had 300 followers, which was really intimidating. And I would go into rooms and tell people that like I was a Clubhouse for Business coach and they would laugh at me. But now, 7 months later, that has worked really well because I positioned myself very well to be somebody that people turn to for this information. But like I said, I took like about 10 years of experience growing companies, whether corporate or small business, all in my overbroad company called Scalability Marketing and Coaching, where I'm now taking those principles and those concepts, but I'm making them applicable to Clubhouse specifically.
Well, I love that you dove right in. Okay, so let's just take a pause. For any of our listeners, like this is the story of growth and success, you guys. It goes with diving in even when other people might be like, oh, what is she doing? Or who does she think she is to do that? So like this is a perfect example of how you only need to focus on your vision, what you know you're supposed to be doing, and just like racehorse blinders on and dive fully in. So take Annabelle's experience, apply it to wherever you are. If you are afraid to dive fully into something, but you know you should be and you want to be, go for it. So that's a whole entire separate podcast episode. I love that you share that. So let's go ahead and roll into what we're going to talk about today. So here are the problems that we know entrepreneurs experience on the app. Definitely burnout for sure. And, from being on Clubhouse in the middle of December, I think is when I joined Clubhouse. And gosh, I think there were, I don't even know how many of there were, a couple thousand, maybe at the most. And it was so exciting to be on there in the beginning. And I remember like we dove fully in and I loved having these amazing, authentic conversations. And I know that other entrepreneurs felt the same way, because basically we had been so disconnected in the world with what has happened. And so we're craving these amazing conversations. And then I discovered something that I know you're going to talk about today, which is the gold of professional and personal development. And I was able to literally sit at the feet of people like Myron Golden and go through total master classes on live virtual events with people like Barry and Blue. I mean, really be in these spaces with these leaders that I otherwise never could have had an opportunity to become connected with and now become, business professional friends with. And so it was really amazing in the beginning. But then as a mom of 3 kids, I own 5 companies. All of a sudden, I really started feeling that fatigue as well, especially as we got into our summer travel season. And I know that so many other businesses feel that way. And so it's so important what you teach and your expertise, because I love Clubhouse. We're back on it. Hosty, I think I was telling you that about behind the scenes before we started recording. We're back on it tonight, launching our regular weekly Wavemakers Mastermind room, which is so much fun. And I've really missed everybody, but man alive, we have to have a strategy behind this in order. It's like not a sprint, it's a marathon for sure. Can you talk about some of the things that you have noticed are problems with businesses in having a long-term strategy for this, and maybe some of the stuff that you've even experienced yourself and being consistent on Clubhouse?
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you 3 places you could spend your time on Clubhouse that won't pay your bills. So let's start with that. And one big mistake that I think people make right from the beginning is not being clear about why they're on Clubhouse, what they're there to do, and who they want to be known as on Clubhouse. And this is the same for every single social media network, right? If you go on social media and your purpose there is either, so here's the first one, your own personal development, although it's great, it won't pay your bills unless you turn it into something else and give yourself that time to implement it. Your own entertainment, right? You can go on Instagram all day and TikTok and watch them all day long, but they won't pay your bills. And the last one really is something that's more of a long-term strategy, which is networking, right? It's great to network with people, but if you aren't getting yourself positioned and your brand positioned to actually convert people, then you're just meeting people. It's all fluffy. It's all nice. You might be developing. You might feel really good. But, when we think about burnout and we think about business owners, is that it feels really good until it really doesn't. Until you start asking yourself, like, I've actually invested a bunch of time on this app, and all of a sudden now I'm asking myself, why did I just do that? Like, it felt really good. I was lonely. I made some friends. But now, okay, I'm 6 months in and I've spent 20 hours a week on an app. What does this actually mean for me and my future? And this is the point that I think a lot of Clubhouse users are coming to, and a point that I want to maybe help people avoid if they're just getting on the app or just building a strategy around how to use it, because it's real, right? Because here's the thing. Unlike Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, really, where you could pay someone else to actually engage for you, get in front of your audiences, you can pay ads. You can't do that on Clubhouse. It's you in a room talking to people. Now, the power of it is that when you're in a room talking to people, you build relationships, you build networks, you get yourself in front of prospective clients. But if you're not in the right place and you're not talking and you're not in the right positioning and you're not clear about what you want to do, all of that is literally just wasting time. And, you have to decide. Like, there are moments of my day where I want to scroll TikTok because it's stress relief for me. It's fun. But if I do that every day, I'm not going to reach my goals. So I think what it comes down to is, like, to avoid burnout in the first place, what do you really want in your life? What is that driving force? What is that life that you want to design? And then as we kind of like get behind that, we can then say, okay, how can we use Clubhouse to create that? And that's what I'm really passionate about. I think that something that a lot of people don't know is that, like, underneath every single thing that I do, it's to empower women to have more decision-making power because they're able to create and monetize the lives that they love. Like, every single thing that I do, Clubhouse is just the tool that I use to do that. And so for me, that's why I drive that message so clear. And that's the best way to avoid burnout, is know what you want. If you know what you want, it's so easy to say, like, is the action that I'm taking right now getting me what I want? And then when you say no, it's very easy to not do that thing. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
I'm writing down your quotes. I'm like writing them down here, and I'm going to go make these quotes and put them out on IG. You are so right? So, like, understanding, why are we doing this? How does this play a role in the bigger part of this? And that's why I'm so excited to have you here on this show, because, as you know, like, that's everything we talk about. It's reverse engineering the lifestyle, and then we build the business to get you there. So love everything you're saying, of course, which is why I love you. So let's talk about the ways that do make you money on Clubhouse. And let's kind of hone in on those business trainings. There are 3 primary ways that you teach entrepreneurs and small businesses to interact and to function on the Clubhouse app. And so can you dive into, let's start with number 1. What is the first money-making way for somebody to spend their time on this app?
Yeah, so it's awareness, right? It's building visibility around who you are. If nobody knows you on the app, nobody's coming to your rooms, it's going to be very hard to then take them down the rest of the journey. So this is something that I actually see a lot of people getting in the awareness trap, right? It's very addicting. It's very addicting, especially for entrepreneurs. We get a little bit mixed up of like, oh, I can grow here. And so we come to this point where we have to decide, how much exposure do I actually want before I try to then take people along a journey to actually sell something to them? And that's also a very personal question. How much time do you have? right? How much time does your business have before you need to drive leads, before you need to turn this traffic into leads? And what would best serve the people that you're generating awareness around, right? If you kind of like go on a Clubhouse stage and you're talking about something that people could really use more information on, that they could use more of a transformational journey, and you're not providing that, just be rest assured that your competition will, right? But you might be the person to like create the awareness around it. You might be the person to let those people know that they have their problem, right? So those are like kind of two things to really think about. Like, how much time do you want to spend just simply building your account, building up your social media profiles? That's more of like an influencer strategy. But also, every single brand, every single business needs people to know that they exist. And so the ways that you really do that on Clubhouse is by either being on other people's stages, within other people's clubs, opening up rooms within other people's clubs, and of course, opening up your own rooms with other mod squads and, you know, that type of thing. And the whole goal of this awareness strategy is really to get in front of as many new people as possible and have them remember you for what you do, right? So you want to make sure that your bio is set up. You want to make sure that you have a clear introduction. You want to make sure that the rooms that you're going to are, you know, going to make sense with, you know, the topics that you open up when you open up a room. You know, you don't want to be like in a music room talking about how you like create business strategy, right? It probably would not make as much sense, but people literally do this. Like, you want to be in a place where you can get in front of an audience that needs what you do. So the first question you want to ask yourself is, you know, from my ideal client, from the person that I want to be on Clubhouse, whether or not you're becoming it, you're it, whatever it may be, where are the people that you could serve the most sitting on Clubhouse right now and showing up in those places in the biggest way possible? That is what the awareness phase looks like, is getting people to really know who you are.
Where are the people that you can serve the most on Clubhouse right now? And so for those people that are new and they haven't actually dove into Clubhouse, how do they, let's give them a hack. How would they find those people? What are some of the ways they can use the app to actually find their people that they want to be in front of?
Yeah. So something really cool is happening right now on Clubhouse where they're using interest sets to tie in people and clubs together. So the first thing you can do is really make sure that your interests match the interests of the ideal client that you're trying to actually attract. So for business owners, when they're setting up their Clubhouse profile, I recommend that you try to show up in the places where your ideal customer is going to be. And then you can add in a couple of your own interests, but for now, I think that it's very smart to make sure that that's niched down to your category so that Clubhouse begins to recommend you in the places that matter most. So Clubhouse did not used to recommend people based off their interest set, but they're about to. So I want everybody to set up their interests. The next is to make sure that you show up in keyword search for your industry. So whatever that ideal client might be searching for, make sure that you show up in your bio. And your entire Clubhouse bio is searchable. So just make sure that those keywords, and you can use a lot of them, are all there. But also reverse engineer that, right? If we know that people are putting keywords in their profiles, we can also go out and find the community leaders, the thought leaders, the people that we might want in our network, the people we might want to be on stages with, the people who have already collected the community. We can go through and follow some of those people so that we start to see their rooms in our hallway. And then the last way is really using that keyword search in a similar way, but for clubs. And I think clubs, you know, they work very much like Facebook groups. There's something that we're all, you know, intuitively aware of, but maybe not everybody is as strategic about it when they first join. They probably think, what clubs do I want to be in? But then we're always asking the question, which club does my ICA most likely spend time in? Right? And so those are the things that you want to ask yourself, because what this is going to do is basically open up the content and the communities that are already being created with your ideal client already in it. It's going to accelerate your growth, because when you show up in those places, when you're like, okay, I want to become aware, there's a room of like 100 to 200 people that are all within my ICA set. I'm going to get up, I'm going to talk, I'm going to build awareness. It becomes very easy. But all we have to do is make sure that we're showing up in the right places. And the best way to do that is really through keyword search to start. From there, though, what's really cool about Clubhouse, and I don't know if this level of visibility is going to always be available, but if you find somebody that's a thought leader in your space, you find somebody that maybe is serving your ICA, maybe they're complimentary to you, you can go through their entire network. You can go through every club that they're in. You can see everything. So if you want to take this to the next level, the next thing to do is, once you have your club set up, is that you go in and you see if there's anything that you maybe didn't think about that somebody else did. And so that's what I would do. I think that's the most strategic approach to really set yourself up for maximum awareness.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. Thank you so much for all of that wisdom. Quick question before we go into money making strategy number 2, because I have been off Clubhouse for the last 2-3 months traveling. And I know this is always something we were trying to figure out before, but I'm wondering if it's become clearer. Are there now proven better times here for those of us in the USA when certain audiences are on the app? Are we starting to see that? Like the business people are usually primarily using the app during the daytime. And, are we starting to really have been on this app now for a year, almost a year? It's starting to see those flows and those trends and when are people active on that? Is that becoming clearer?
Yeah, it is. So most people are on in the morning. And the reason why is because you have, India in the evening, you have Europe up, you have US up. And so maximum times are really at the top and bottom of our time zone. So I'm in Pacific Standard Time Zone, and so is Clubhouse HQ. So it tends to be like anything like 8 a.m. and before, and like 5 p.m. and after. There seems to be a lot of people on the app. But if you think about your ideal audience, right? When are they on the app? If it's an entrepreneur, maybe it's during workday of your hours. The trend that I'm seeing is that, or the trend that Clubhouse has talked about, is that all the rooms are going to start getting bigger because fewer people are creating, more people are listening. So I would say like the number one thing to worry about would be when is the best time for you and your business, right? So that you could do this sustainably over time in the future. And this was a big question I had for myself. Okay, what is the absolute best time that I can do this for a long time? So I had to ask myself that question. But on top of that, what you can do is you can go in the app and you can see how many members are on the app and in certain clubs at every single hour. And you can start to think, okay, I have 2 different time slots I could do on a Tuesday. Let me see which one of those might have the maximum potential. Let me also see who is doing regular rooms during that time slot, so I can see where if I have a competitive advantage or a competitive, situation here where there might be other rooms that are pulling people in the same direction for the same topic. So I think that is a little bit individualistic, but I will say that there's more people on the app in a global sense in the mornings and at night. But that might not matter for everybody. For instance, I coach people mostly in the US, right? So I'm okay with hitting people in the US, but just know that as people go back to work, you want to set yourself up for success for thinking, when are people that my ideal client, if it's somebody that's working, when will they most likely be on a social media app, right? So those are the questions we want to ask ourselves.
Great advice. Great advice. Yeah. And that's exactly what you're saying. So we picked Tuesday night for our Wave Makers Mastermind room because I know I'm usually not on an airplane. I know that sounds silly, but like when I'm traveling to see my kids, I'm on an airplane like Friday to Monday, right? I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to be there every single Tuesday night. So as we roll back into the fall, I never have to wonder about a Tuesday night because I'm always there. And so I love that you said that. And then I have so many questions for you, clearly. Hopefully all of our listeners are getting value out of the questions I'm asking you as well. For our Australia participants, are we starting to see more of a growth in Australian participation on Clubhouse than we were in the beginning?
Yeah, we are. And I think it had to do with like more lockdowns, more like of the pandemic actually grew the user base. So we do think that there's more people from Australia. I'm meeting them. They're a little bit of an opposite time zone for me, so I don't meet as many of them. But there's like growth in that side of the world has accelerated a lot, like all the way from India to Asia to Australia. And Europe has also grown a lot too. I think that US kind of had a strong user base before you left, but that side of the world, I mean, they're creating communities, and the app just continues to grow. Like it really only has like a few million people on. Like the growth potential is still in the billions for the app. No. So it's something to really think about. It's still a baby.
Yeah, you guys are all a drop in the bucket. So this is why we love Clubhouse so much. Annabelle was saying like she's an early adopter. Even you who would be on this app now would be an early adopter. So you are not late on the upswing on this at all. Thank you so much. I know those were kind of very specific questions, but these are questions I know that our clients and our audience is asking. We have a huge client base in Australia. And yes, it's like 3 to 5 o'clock, in the afternoon here Mountain Time when it is there tomorrow morning. And so there are some different times in there. Okay. So way to build your business and be productive with your time is number 1, awareness. And everything we just talked about can fit kind of into that awareness category. What is the second way to make money off of Clubhouse and be strategic about your time?
Yeah, and these next two, I think, are things that I told you a lot of people are getting in the awareness trap. They're just building awareness, building awareness, building awareness. Okay, let's think about the human beings, right, that we're meeting, we're building relationships with, and the fact that we're going to see them again. Because here's the thing, on Clubhouse, we're all clustered together. Everybody that's interested in business development, we are in a cluster. As people follow more people in your social graph, you are going to be more visible to them, especially now. So going back to what you said, where this is a great time for people to be an early adopter. Yeah, because discoverability just started, right? Before, the rest of us were kind of like, I hope you see me over here. You can't really find me by my keywords unless you're being super strategic. Like, that doesn't exist anymore. So here's the thing, is that if you are setting yourself up to get to know people really well, you're treating them well, you're giving them a ton of value in that awareness phase, they're going to like you and want to maybe see you again. But as we know, with the business buying cycle, people don't, necessarily buy from you the first day they meet from you. So I think what a lot of people need to do is nurture their audience, right? You are literally building a community on the app. There's something called clubs on the app, which we talked about a little bit, but you could have your own, right? Most people, when you've been active for like maybe a week, you could start your own club. If it's aligned with your brand, even better. But that's basically your hub, right? You can take people also, I just want to put this out there, into a community of your own, like maybe you have a Facebook group, something like that. You can take people, but the level of readiness for them to take that journey with you is going to depend on how you treat them and how you bring them into your world. So one thing that I think is really important to do is through that awareness phase, bring people onto your email list so that they can see even more value from you. See if you can get them to take the journey over to Instagram and follow you there so that you have more touch points. These touch points are so important in like developing that trust. When you see somebody on video and you've also heard their voice, you're going to trust them a lot more. And also what this also informs is that I know that there's people who are aware of me, but they don't know me that well and my content. I need to nurture them on Clubhouse, right? I need to create rooms that maybe are not the big, bold, like huge rooms where everybody sees me, that are nurturing people in specific needs. So if somebody comes up in a Clubhouse room and they ask a specific question, I may create a room about that specific question to best serve them if I think it's going to serve the community that I have, because I want to nurture that community and help them with their needs and give them a chance to get to know me in a smaller setting. And so that's really nurture, is like kind of moving people along, getting them to like you more, giving them more resources, maybe engaging with them on social media so you can hit them in more ways. It just depends on how robust you want to be. But at the very minimum form, it's, you might meet me in a room with other people on a stage. You might like me, you might follow me. Now I'm going to take you into a container where you can really learn from me specifically, have an incredibly clear idea about who I am, and know my style, know what I have to offer. And so that's the second part, is nurture.
I love that. Love all of that. Okay. And then number 3, the third way to make money, grow your business, and be very productive and strategic of your time on Clubhouse.
Yeah, this is the one that almost nobody is doing, and it's conversion. It's converting straight from the stage. So what I've noticed is that people can sell anything from an SLO or a very low ticket offer all the way up to something that's a few $1,000s, sometimes even more, from the stage. Like, you don't even have to get them into a fancy funnel, but if you have one, it does help support you. But it's having those rooms and being in that position where you are literally by yourself hosting a room. And the whole intent is to get your super fans into the room, the people who are the hottest, that know you the most, and basically drive them down a sales sequence. So that content might look like why you need an email list to build your business. And then you would sell to them some sort of email list building service at the end of the day. But having something that's very coherent with the room to what you are selling, and selling it directly from the stage. And in order to do that in the way that has the highest integrity, in my opinion, is to really be the only moderator, to not have any conflict between offers, and to have that be a very small niche down room that okay, somebody came into a Clubhouse room in awareness phase, they asked a question, I did a nurture room on that. And then, maybe, as I've warmed them up, I've gotten to know them on socials, I'm now going to sell them something that answers that, but it's me as part of the solution. And so bringing people down those journeys on Clubhouse, it's really, really working well, but people have to do it. They have to be okay with being in a room with 1 or 2 people that said a heck yes to them. And sometimes it's more than that, right? I've noticed that as you grow, it's more than that. But this conversion content is really, I think, what makes or breaks businesses, is being okay sitting there and saying, by myself, do you like me? Do you like what I have to offer? Are you interested in taking a further journey? And then offering that to them in a way that's like, of course, of service. And so those are the 3 types of content to grow your business on Clubhouse.
Yes. Okay. So I want to give an example of that. I always try to pull the curtain back on what we do in our business. So this is a strategy that we've used on Clubhouse since the beginning in January. So let me reverse engineer it for you guys, because some of you guys have actually been in this strategy who are listening, and we're about to do it again. Okay, so I'm going to tell you here on the podcast, and then you will be able to go and watch us do this. Okay, so we have a masterclass that we only hold a couple times a year called Your Signature Offer, right? So where we teach everybody how to build out their industry leading signature online course and program, mastermind coaching program. So that is starting here in October. We were talking about that behind the scenes, right? So in that, before that, we have a challenge, like creating your industry leading offer challenge, right? What we do is we host Clubhouse rooms for 3 weeks leading up to that on the primary questions that are answered in the beginning parts of our masterclass and in our challenge. So the rooms are going to be like how to create your leading signature framework or method, how to choose the signature offer that's right for you. Is launching a course right for you? Like all of those questions that people are asking. So I'm just telling you guys exactly how we do it. And you're going to see us doing it on Clubhouse here over the next couple of weeks towards the end of September and October, because that's leading that up. And that's exactly like Annabelle was showing you, that when you do this, the conversions are incredible because you've been able to have conversations with people. They know that you know what the heck you're talking about. They know that you actually that you are proven to give them the results they're looking for. They know that you understand their frustrations and their pain points, and you are like the golden arrow to the problem they've been probably trying to solve for a very long time. And so it's full of integrity. It's very straightforward. There's nothing hidden or tricky about it. It just goes from a conversation to a smaller solution to our masterclass. And those people that want it, they totally want it, right? They're like, yes, please let me do this. I need this industry leading signature program. And so that's just sharing with you guys and just laying it out there on the table exactly how we do this strategy. And I think that, it's interesting that you said something in there, as long as you're okay being on stage and being like the one. Totally. And I think that makes people scared, right? I think the reason why some people get scared of that is because they aren't so sure about their solution, about their signature program and offer. If you aren't sure about your solution, then that's a problem we need to solve for you, right? But I think that they're not so sure about themselves. And so that's how they, don't want to do that. Some people that are just shy, what we have seen people do in the past is bringing in, so instead of it just being them on the stage, bringing in affiliates and friends or clients who have actually experienced their services. And I will have some people ask a question. I'm like, hey, you know what? That's a better question for Nicole or somebody else to answer it, because Nicole's actually been in our class. And we're always very upfront. We sell the solution to this. We're never, cryptic about it. We're like, we actually sell the solution to this. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys as we're talking about it. So as Annabelle's teaching you the structure of it, that you also have like a set example of it in action as well. And it does work really well. And I'm really surprised that you say that more people aren't necessarily doing that. Why do you think that they aren't doing that so much?
Yeah, I think it's because they don't have a business. Like they don't have an offer. Exactly what you're saying. They got on the app. Now they have all the awareness. They know people like them. They know they like their ideas. They probably know the problems they could solve. But at the end of the day, they don't really have either that confidence or that flow. So there's some people that maybe they start with, okay, you can get on a discovery call with me and I'll try to sell you coaching, right? That's probably the level that they're at with their funnel, but they don't really realize that you could do a masterclass, or you could have freebies to build your email list, or you could have some sort of launch sequence. And so I think that all of that's really important. But at the end of the day, you have to know what it is that you're offering people so that you can then back that up and say, okay, what's the bridge between you knowing who I am in a Clubhouse room, me actually making an offer to you, and you actually buying the thing, right? So people kind of need to know that bridge. And so I think that it's a little bit like a happy surprise for many people that they grew, they got all this awareness, they have all these people that like the thing is about on Clubhouse is if people are interested in you, they're going to come to your inbox and say, can I work with you? And then if you don't have an offer, you're like, yes, you can. Let me just like create something for you right now. Like, let me just, you want that? Yes, I'll do it. But we want to get people into a model that's really scalable, right? Something that they could do over and over again, just like you are. Like, that it works. You've measured it. You've practiced it. You know that like if people go from Clubhouse room to Masterclass to challenge, they're going to buy the product, right? And so that's kind of the thing that we want to build for everyone, is just knowing that conversion content will always work with you for you on a consistent basis, because your offer matters. It's something that people want. It's something that they will take that journey on, with you. And so that's why I think it is that a lot of people are just like kind of like in that development phase, and that's totally okay. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and we have actually had multiple clients come to us for that exact reason. Like, I don't have an offer. I don't know what I'm selling. I need my signature offer. Help. So totally. Yep, 100%. All right. So today we talked about how to be really wise on your time. But we actually didn't talk about the numbers of time in itself. And I know everybody's different. So before, and there's my children calling in my emergency breakthrough. Our podcast listeners, there's another child, podcast listeners, calling for more lunch money probably. For our listeners that are really kind of wondering, how much time do I actually need to spend on this in order for it to actually be worth my while? Is there at least a minimum time, or is it a cadence or a consistency that you recommend?
Yeah. Okay. So I would say that like, you're probably not going to move the needle a lot if you're not willing to spend at least 4 hours a week on the app, and at least one of those hours being you having your own room. So I think that's something that's really important. It's a time intensive app, but here's the other side, is that the sky's the limit with influence awareness and all of that. So to me, the real question is, what do you actually want? Do you want to build something that's more evergreen? When we talk about the offer, when we talk about the funnel, do you want to build something where it's like you can be in the conversations? Do you enjoy them? Does Clubhouse light you up? There's a lot of people that are like, I love it. I just love it here. I just want to spend all day, every day. Okay, great. Let's build the model that lets you do that and be profitable. So that's kind of like the question that goes in my mind. But at the same time, there's people like Jana, who does Pinterest marketing. She's made a ton of money on the app, and she does her 2 regular rooms every single week. And in her free time outside of her business, she goes into other rooms and she creates awareness around who she is. And her funnel is really strong, but it's a service-based funnel, right? She has coaching, she has her courses, she has a little bit of a mix. She's made a lot of money on the app, just spending around 4 hours a week. So the sky's the limit for you. If you're somebody that has the desire to build your personal brand and build your social media, and maybe you are starting at zero and you have a lot of time, use the time to grow that, build that. I think it will serve you for years to come. If you're somebody that's super busy, you have like a great funnel already in place, maybe you have a Facebook funnel or something that's already existing, maybe you want to add a little bit more. You want to actually use Clubhouse to nurture your community or get in front of some new eyeballs or be an expert guest. That's great. Position yourself for that. I really think that anytime, but I would say the minimum is around 4 a week. And I think most people could probably figure out 4 hours a week.
Right. And it's worth it. We love being on the app. I love the app so much, and I get to meet amazing people like you. So thank you so much for being on the show. So you actually have a guide that you're going to give to our listeners, a Clubhouse productivity guide. Just share what is in that, and then we're going to make sure it's in the show notes of this episode so everybody can grab it for free.
Yeah. So this guide really came out of the question of so many people saying, like, is Clubhouse worth my time? And so it's literally your answer to that. So we go over the 6 different places that you can show up on we go over the 6 different places where you can show up on Clubhouse effectively. But then we also ask the very hard question is like, what is your ideal life and week actually like, right? Mm-hmm. Take the time to actually do the worksheet in order. I tell you my winning formula, how to use awareness, how to use, nurture, how to use, conversion. You can do all of that, but none of that matters to me unless it fits into your ideal day and week. And that is going to help you to decide, okay, what are the hours that I might spend on Clubhouse? Why is it worth it to me? Because I want you to define what you want, right? What makes it worth your time to show up in a Clubhouse room, do the scary thing, add some value, get in front of people, build your brand, do the work around clarity. Like, what is it that gets you to actually do that? And then once you do that, then it's like, okay, so what time am I going to do it at? Like that's where I want to get you, and that's how I designed the guide.
I love that. Sounds so awesome. I know our listeners really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you sharing that with everybody. All of this is episode number 243, and all of our listeners can find you and how to connect with you at the show notes at sweetlifeco.com. Just click on the podcast button. It's episode number 243. But before we go, what is your Clubhouse handle so everybody can follow you?
Yeah, it's at Annabelle Bayhan. And then if you want to follow my club, it's now the club under Clubhouse Mastermind. And so you could follow me in both places, and that will get you right into the content that you want to see.
Clubhouse Mastermind. I love that. Okay, well, we'll for sure be jumping in your rooms from your club too. I appreciate your expertise and your time so much. Thank you so much, Annabelle.
Yeah, thank you for having me.